We are going to have 30 minutes whenever this finally finds a way to work for her to answer 3 questions that are on the board. Who does Amber aspire to be as a teacher? What opportunities does she engage in to become a better teacher? And how is she prepared to maximize her internship at Brockway High School this spring? She'll have 30 minutes to do that, after which we will have 10 minutes for questions and answers. Jess will help us monitor the chat both on Zoom and on Facebook. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Jess will relay them to the group. But again, we'll ask for that from the people here in the audience as well for 10 minutes. Amber?
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amber. I'm going to be known as Miss Robalino. Good afternoon to everyone on the online world. So this is going to be my classroom. I want my classroom to be a place of comfort and a place where human growth is very important. So some courses that have helped me being a Penn State student, I got to do Workforce Ed 450. I got to learn how to work with students with special needs, which is something I've never really been exposed to too much. So it was very exciting to take that class and get to understand other students a little bit better. I took Inside 100. I get to learn about the different ways that the world does agriculture. And I think a lot of those ideas can be shared into the classroom instead of traditional American agriculture. I also took Soils 101. I'm not good at soils, but I love this class. I actually took it over the summer. And my aunt to tell you, I dug holes in the backyard worse than the dog did for that class. I also took Fort 101. I am a little bit familiar with plant science, but not too familiar. So again, other classes to advance my education. I have certifications in National Tractor Safety and Missionary Operations. I am certified to teach students how to operate a tractor safely, which is very important. I'm also CPR certified, and I am also dog agility and pet first aid certified, which can help in vet classes or vet classes. So for my professional development, I actually got to go to the NAAE convention at Las Vegas. I know a lot of you have seen some of my posts. I got to participate in some personal development workshops, one of them being deep in conversation about agriculture, opening one person at a time. I thought this workshop was really important because it taught me how to talk to the community about agriculture. Sometimes our facts can be very overwhelming to the public, and we tend to shut off. So being able to learn how to reach them is very helpful in getting people with an open mind. We also have Ag Ed for All. I get to learn about diversity and inclusion in the classroom. It is something that I'm very strong at, but obviously there's no such thing as perfect. You always want to work on things that you think you might know you're really good at. I wasn't trained for this, strategies for working with students with special needs. Again, I'm not very familiar with working with students with special needs, so I thought this workshop would be fantastic. I thought it was an amazing workshop, and I got really good resources on how I can help students. I also have 2 workshops where I worked on being aware of risk of suicide in students and even in rural communities. The suicide rate nationally is 8%. In rural communities, especially in agriculture, it's 20%. So there's definitely a huge problem in that area that I want to help my students with and the community. I'm also have never taken an ag vet class before until I came to Penn State. So I thought going in a workshop where I get to learn a little bit more about engine systems would be helpful towards me. And it was. So some other experiences that I've had, I am a proud John Bound Aggie. I went to John Bound, which is located in New York City. It is an urban agricultural high school. So it's a completely different experience, but I got to learn all the different ways that agricultural happens, from simple fields to all the way onto rooftop gardens. There I was a sentinel and a student advisor in my local chapter. Then I became District 1 president, so I'm between the local level and the state level. And I got to work with state officers one-on-one, which really helped with my leadership skills, public speaking, communications, etc. I was a discovery guide from 2016 to 2019. I loved working at the zoo. If anyone's ever been to the Queen Zoo or the Bronx Zoo that has their own TV show on Animal Planet, they are a fantastic conservation society that helps animals all around the world, and I just wanted to be a part of that. So I volunteered my time educating the public on local wildlife found in North and South America. I also worked in the herpetology and exotics lab when I was at John Bound. I worked with various types of snakes and reptiles and fish. Anything you can think about, I worked with. I also, in my junior year of college, I got to go to do goals, and goals was being able to teach students about the sustainable development goals that we have to keep our earth clean, everyone happy, making sure that agriculture is shown to the public that it is very important in teaching that to our students. So here are some of the memories that I have throughout the years. Here's when I worked at the Bronx Zoo as a child zoo associate. This is when I volunteered at the Queen Zoo. Here I was. This is when I was a District 1 president. I actually got invited to do the closing bear ceremony at Wall Street with Sunny Pugh. Here I am working at the reptile lab. That is snake and little python. Her name is Emma. She weighs about 60 pounds. I'm about 5'4". She's a little bit taller than me. And just here I am doing my goals. I actually got to teach at Tennessee, which was amazing, at Eagleton High. Amazing kids. It definitely prepared me to learn how to work in a classroom. Some other cool things about me. I am perfectly fine working with a bunch of diverse learners just because I have the background. I am originally from New York City. So you see all walks of life in New York City, which I'm very blessed to have. I have some statistics over here. So I'm originally from Queens. 47.2% of the population was born outside of the US in Queens. So I'm dealing with a lot of nationalities. Within the 91 districts of Queens, 130 languages and over 120 countries are represented. And then at the Bronx Zoo, where I used to work, they get 2 million visitors per year, so I'm dealing with a lot of people. And the Queen Zoo, about 400 million people have been there since their opening day. So again, working with a lot of different people. Education, I go to the best agricultural education program there is at Penn State. They definitely prepared me for what I need to do and have supplied me unlimited resources to further my development. Training, I took training while I was doing my professional development. I have my CPR and the other certifications that I showed before. And experience, I showed my experience through the pictures that I've had. I've had them all the way since my freshman year of high school and so on. Overall, I'm very adaptable in situations with diverse learners. Because of that, and wanting to be a student teacher, I am going to go to the amazing place of Brockway Senior and Junior High School, and I get to talk about that a little bit more.
Brockway is a borough in Jefferson County, Pennsylvania, with a population of 2,256 people. In Brockway, there is Brockway Area Junior-Senior High School, home to the Brockway FFA chapter with around 113 members. Their ag program has 2 teachers, Mr. Kyle Norman and Mr. Matthew Holt. The program focuses on teaching students agricultural production, but they also teach topics such as ag mech, natural resources, environmental systems, and much more. Learning these subjects can be valuable for our students as the program has multiple facilities to use during instruction. These facilities include the greenhouse, the barn, which currently houses 2 pigs, George and Squirt. These pigs will be raised up to then be slaughtered to teach students about meat production, as well as having a feast for their banquet. The cool thing about Brockway is that they're very sustainable. The shavings used for the barn are actually wood shavings collected from the woodworking shop. The barn and the greenhouse itself was also built by students. As mentioned before, the other facilities include the woodworking shop and the ag mech shop. These facilities are mostly equipped with industrial machinery in order to get students familiar with what is expected of them if they choose to take their skills to a career.
So for my project, I actually have this Holt sign here. This was specifically made for Mr. Holt, but it's still something that I would like our students to use just because they get to use this big machine over here. And I could just play the video of what that big machine looks like and how it works. office project. These are some of the classes that I've been teaching. It's not all of them, but some. I have my exotic unit, which I'm very excited to do. I'm going to teach about exotics, which is something that I'm a little bit specialized in, especially working at the reptile laboratory. I have my intro to animal science, where I'll be teaching small diseases, large diseases, animal welfare, and so on. I have horticulture. I'll be teaching about floral arrangements, land management, greenhouse. I have intro to ag mech, small engines and welding, and wildlife. I'll be doing birds and soils. If anyone's interested, you can go ahead and either use your phone to use the QR code, or if you go online, there are links. This is the schedule that I'd be going with Rockaway. They do use periods instead of blocks. Each period is about 41 minutes long, and then these are the days that I will be present because I will be going on field trips and events with students, mainly FFA events. So the thing about Brockway, I love them. I love that they're so sustainable. Again, they have so many cool facilities and cool gadgets that the students can use. I would like to see them be more involved in LDs and CDs, more involvement, more options. I just want to have a bunch of teams that students can explore and join, because sometimes you don't really know what you're missing until you found it. And I would like to see more SAU involvement. A lot of students tend to work on their farms at home, which is fine, but I'd like to see a lot more non-traditional agriculture because I want to break down stereotypes of what agriculture is. So you only live once, or you only live forever in the lights you make. And this is who I aspire to be as a teacher. So some of the strengths that I have as a student candidate, empathy and validating emotions. I think that's super important for students to make them feel understood and not only just heard, but they definitely listened to. And that way it makes them feel important. It feels like they have a voice in what their education is like and what they want to learn. It keeps them interested, it keeps them motivated. As I said before, I'm trained to recognize suicidal warnings. I think this is very important, especially in high school. A lot of teens are going through a lot, and you don't really know that, especially at home. So school can be a safe place where I can make sure that everyone is okay and doing just fine. I want that from our students. I'm relatable. I am on the younger side. I'm a Gen Z as well, so I understand what the kids are into. I understand how to keep the content relevant to students so that they can feel like what we're learning is important and valuable. And my last strength, I'm exposed to a lot of diversity. Again, being in New York City, having this training, and even some of our classes, we got to talk to Dr. Rice, for example, to learn about cultural diversity and cultural responsiveness. Some professional growth goals that I do have is organization. As of right now, I have been color coding things, but again, I want to step it up a notch. I want to make sure that all my files are saved and put in folders in Google Drive where I can easily just look it up. I know a lot of people have seen agricultural teachers with a messy computer. I don't want to be that teacher. I know it can be very frustrating. I want everything to go as smoothly as possible when trying to find resources or grades or homeworks for my students. I want to learn about more topics that I'm unfamiliar with, so that would go with ag mech. I've never done woodworking, I've never done small engines before coming to Penn State, so that's more stuff that I want to educate myself on. I also want to educate students on mental health. Being in a rural area, it's very hard to talk about mental health, and it can often be viewed as a taboo subject, and a lot of students look away from wanting to talk about it, and I don't think that's a step in the right direction. So I want to make the classroom comfortable where students can talk to me about that kind of thing, and I can give them resources where they need. I want to find effective ways to motivate students to participate in FFA. I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for FFA. I tell people all the time, I don't know where I would be without FFA. And I think a lot of students just kind of need that kind of support. Even if they're not interested in agriculture. I think we all agree that FFA has to help us in some way to achieve any kind of job that we want because we learn these professional development skills. So here's my teaching philosophy. I do have copies right out front as you leave if anyone hasn't gotten a chance to get one. I also have a QR code and a link on my website. So some of the classroom procedures I have up here and board right behind me. So we're going to come on class. We're going to come to class with an open mind to learn, ears to listen, and voices to contribute to our learning. I want the students to be extremely involved in our education. I want to hear their opinions. I want to hear their ideas because I think conversation is the best way that we learn from each other. I also don't want students to really disagree and be like, that idea is pretty stupid. No, we all respect each other here. We all think with an open mind. We're going to sit at our desk and put away any distractions and taking out our notebooks. I do not want to see phones, ear pods, side conversation that's not related to today's topic. I also want to give our undivided attention to the teacher. We're ready to learn, we're perked up. So some expectations that I have for students, I want them to come on class on time. I want to make sure that all my students are on the same page when we're bringing up new topics, especially. Electronic devices will be put away when I did not give them permission to use them. It is the 21st century. We are going to use tech in the classroom. However, I want it to be responsible tech and tech used for research. We are going to clean up after ourselves. I think a lot of ag teachers deal with a bunch of messy kids sometimes, and just being an ag is very messy overall. So I want to make sure that our facilities are clean and our classrooms are clean, just because a clean environment really helps us learn better. We all make mistakes, but accountability changes the scene. Everyone makes mistakes. We're human. Saying sorry and being sincere about it shows me that you care and you thought about it and you reflected. And I think that's way more important than just punishing students. 5, respect your peers, support your friends, and share empathy with everyone in the classroom, including you. I do not want to hear students bashing on each other, students bashing on themselves. My classroom is a safe space for everyone. An administrator, teacher, another class that walks into this classroom, these are the environment that you're going to be in. And I want to maintain that environment as close as possible. So consequences, if we're not following expectations, you get a meeting with Ms. Robalino, so I will talk to you after class, kind of have a one-on-one conversation, getting to know just what's up, how we're feeling, why are these things happening, and getting that student to understand why whatever they did might not be appropriate and what are some action plans that we can do to better ourselves next time. I would preferably like to give 3 strikes of meeting with me. After that, we move on to a phone call home. There I will speak to your guardian and kind of figure out what's happening at home, making sure that they're aware of the situation, and hopefully that resolves. If that doesn't get resolved, then there is going to be a meeting with the student, their legal guardian, and me. I don't want to take it to that next step, but I try to minimize as much damage as I can in the classroom, just because I really don't believe in sending students to the office. That could be a real shutdown from their classroom. They might not see you as that good teacher anymore, and you might label them as a bad student. And that just sets a whole snowball of problems in the classroom. Severe or continuous behavior will be sent to the office, but again, this is my last resort. Rockaway has a no bullying policy, and I am also very strict on that no bullying. If there were bullying to happen, I unfortunately do have to send that to the office to have the report be filed out, and the administration will investigate further. If it was up to me to have my own program, this is kind of the idea that I would want to go. 8th and 9th grade, get intro to ag, getting to learn a little bit more about why ag is important and what is ag. Then from there, they have different pathways they can take. Intro to plant science for anyone interested in that. Intro to ag mech, and intro to animal science. And then all of these branch out with the grades that they go through. So we have a port and exotics. Very excited to teach that. Pre-vets, welding, landscaping, pre-floriculture, pre-landscaping. And those kind of pre-classes are just where students can develop their skills a little bit more and go further into a topic. So now I get to show you the herpetology and exotics lab, where I would like to teach some of my classes and use the facility. Video up. So I actually built this facility in Minecraft. This is how much the facility would cost, and that's how big it is. So I have steel doors. Ideally, the whole facility would be made out of concrete. I have a bin for bedding. There's storage. Everything is organized in storage containers, extra supplies, anything that I would really need extra to have. I have racks that I would like snakes to go into, and right there, over there in the back, those are kind of tables where I would like to put lizards. They kind of require bigger space. I have a cleaning station for students. a way to throw their out the garbage. Then you move further back into the facility. This is where you kind of keep the other exotics. So this is going to be rats, mice, guinea pigs, food bins for them. This is the setup where a lot of the guinea pigs would be because they do need more space. Hay bins, and this would be the rat and mice racks. And then I also have an incubation center for reptiles when we do breeding, just because corn snakes are really good with teaching students about genetics, because it's something that they can visually see. So a way to implement my facility into the classroom, this would be used for hands-on lessons, whether it be learning how to sex a snake, whether it be how to breed, how to set proper substrate for the incubation, how to properly restrain. Then I also would like FFA to get involved with giving community tours, elementary presentations, and I want them to break those misconceptions of the creepy crawlers, of agriculture. I know a lot of people are afraid of them, but they're very harmless. Once you kind of get familiar with those kind of animals. For our SAE, they could do placement and internship here. If they wanted to do an entrepreneurship with breeding snakes and selling them, I'm perfectly fine with that. Research and experimental, it is a research facility based. There's mice and rats and guinea pigs. They're excellent animals for research. It could also be school-based, so students can go ahead and walk there. And it also service learning, which I would like, again, to fill it in with the community tours and teaching other community members about snakes and exotics. Lastly, I think this clip shows exactly who I want to be as
You know, human beings learn best and most from other human beings. That's all part of being human. And we learn best from people who really care about us, people we really like. It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. But it's you I like. The way you are right now, the way down deep inside you. Not the things that hide you, not your toys, they're just beside you. But it's you I like. Every part of you, your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like, it's you yourself, it's you I like. And that's true. And you'll find that the people who love you best are the ones you learn the most from. And the more they teach you and the more you learn, the better feeling you have about yourself and the world we live in.
Thank you, Amber. We're going to transition to questions. Jess is going to monitor our chat for that. We'll ask you guys to ask that in a moment. I'll start us off. You ended a little bit there towards the end. I would love for you to elaborate more on sort of the revamp of our SAE for All model and how we have the inclusion now of the school-based enterprise option and what the role and relevance that is for ag education, particularly in the 21st century.
So specifically the school-based one, right?
Yes, the school-based enterprise.
So with the school-based enterprise, I think for me, especially being from the city, there isn't a lot of places to kind of do SAE work, unlike the rural areas. So when you have an SAE that can be school-based, it's a lot easier for students and they have a lot more opportunity to do their SAEs because it's at school, it's accessible to them, which I think is very important to think about. Not everyone has a car, not everyone has someone that can drive them to a place. another facility, another job to do their SAE. So that's why I think like having a school base is very important for students.
Thank you.
Amber, thank you for a wonderful presentation. You mentioned how important FFA was to you a couple of times in there. And I'd like to pose the question to you. How can we make FFA more inclusive for all students?
I think FFA has definitely come a long way from what it used to be with inclusion. Recently visiting the National FFA conference was actually very amazing. I got to meet them a little bit, and they talked about how FFA had this kind of exclusive dinner with them where they got to talk to students from urban cities to talk more about what they wanted to see. And I think that's highly important, of talking to students that might not be represented in the classroom, getting to hear their voices first, and having to understand that. I think just being open to new things. I talk about how, you know, people like country music, I've noticed, but what about the other types of songs that they play out there that other people listen to? At national conferences, I got to see the talent show. There was a mariachi band of students, and that blew my mind. I've never seen anything like that before with FFA. I think music's a great way to have inclusion. Literature is very important. Even in my classroom, I want to have FFA posters that might show students that don't look like the normal FFA kind of student, because I want students to be like, I can be that. That person looks like me. And I think that's just one way that I would push inclusion in FFA. No. Person?
Is the PSU Ag Ed 23 cohort better as a result of you being in it? Why?
I think I contribute a lot to the success that we have as a cohort. A lot of us might have different experiences, but at the end of the day, once we all kind of talk about it, we do relate to each other in some way. I think being in my cohort and then being comfortable with like me, I was able to have open conversation about how I feel on certain topics or issues that we may be doing or things that I want to include. I love, and I'm so sorry, I always spam the group chat, but anytime I find something cool, I love to send it to the group chat and be like, hey guys, you gotta check this out. I just found it. So I think those are ways that I was able to contribute to my cohort.
You talk a lot about diversity and it's funny because I come from a very rural background, and also I'm not a big country music fan. But so with you being able to relate to so many students, how do you, so that's a great thing, but how do you intend to market your program and recruit students? Because just being diverse of a person is not necessarily enough to recruit people.
I think just holding a lot of events for the community is a very good way to recruit it. I talked about with the facility of showing elementary school students, especially because Rockaway is linked with an elementary school, but having either my officers or ag students go and talk to those elementary school students, and just like having them visit the school, or even middle school students, they can come visit the school. But I guess the way of recruiting is just really having my students be the front man for me and talking to other students and telling them the great things that we're doing and having them present to people, whether it be other schools, whether it be at workshops or any kind of presentation, they're my front people.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Great presentation. I like that you brought up your experience as a New York FFA member. I mean, you were district president, so you had some leadership there. And I'm curious, do you think that helps you having experience in a different state association now coming and leading students as Pennsylvania FFA members?
I think it definitely helps with the experience just because I am picking up little pieces from the New York FFA and bringing it to the PA thing. The only idea I could really think of right now, and I bothered Curry about this all the time, but for my New York FFA, our state officers actually released videos on how to efficiently pack. So everyone sees me with a very small, short suitcase, and everyone's like, how do you pack it? I'm like, you guys, your FFA like officers didn't send you a video of how to efficiently pack, but like those are some ideas that I can bring to the PA FFA and be like, hey, this was really helpful for me. I can imagine it'd be helpful for so many other students in the New York FFA. Why don't we bring this to PA FFA and have our PA officers do that as well? So that's just one way I think I could contribute that way. Anyone else? Yes.
So you have talked a lot about your background in dermatology and things. As you move forward as an educator, are there areas that you've identified that you're excited to pursue for professional development?
Professional, I think it definitely has to be, I'm very big with public speaking and communication skills. A lot of my classmates like to say, Amber, you're a very good public speaker. I am terrified. I am shaking in my boots while I'm up here. But because of FFA and because of the ag program, I learned how to convert that energy into something productive where I could show and honestly reflect who I am as a person. And I think one of these pictures, I think, really captures that. There we go. So this is actually my freshman year of high school. Didn't want to show my face in that picture. This is my sophomore year of high school. I'm showing my face, a slight smile. This is my senior year of high school. I have a big smile on my face. I am glowing. So I think those are kind of the professional developments that I find really important for students because I know that it works.
Coming from such an urban background and kind of being immersed into a more rural background or setting as you go into student teaching, how do you plan to integrate yourself in the community into the rural program?
Yeah, well, to start off, being from an urban place and then coming to a rural area, it was definitely a big culture shock. No one really talks about this kind of culture shock. So the way I've kind of been slowly implementing myself is I like to visit Rockaway every 2 weeks. So I visit them every 2 weeks on Friday, and the kids are getting a little bit more familiar with me. I'm introducing myself to staff, to faculty. I actually got invited to the chapter meeting by one of their students tomorrow. So I think those are ways that I'm kind of just like showing my face around, introducing myself, and making sure that I'm making consistent visits to show them that I do care about them.
Sorry, so I thought it's really cool that you're implementing exotic animals into your classroom, and I am, like you touched on it, that you're trying to get students who feel uncomfortable working with exotic animals to just feel comfortable around them. So I'm wondering some like techniques that you're going to use.
Oh yeah. I wish I brought them, but I currently have I have beetles as pets. And I think a lot of people are very afraid of bugs, but I think having a classroom pet really opens up students because now they have to share a space with something that they think is completely terrifying and they would never want to be locked in a room with them. But then they realize, oh, this huge snake or this bug is kind of in the corner of the room. He's minding his own business. He's contained. A lot of students tend to be very curious. So eventually curiosity gets to them and they start walking up to the tank and they're looking. And then slowly it goes, do you want to hold them? Would you like to clean the tank for me? I think those are ways of just hitting students where they're curious is. And giving them the opportunity to further feed their curiousness. Dr. Foster.
I have been so impressed when you shared that you were visiting Brockway for 2 weeks, and we really commend you for that. After being there and integrating, I'm just curious, at the end of 15 weeks, how are you going to leave the wood pile higher at Brockway? What is something you want to contribute?
Yeah, I think, again, my passion for exotic animals, the thing I wanted to do with students, especially, again, them being in a very rural area and being surrounded by farmland, I want them to know that there's more to agriculture than what they might see around them. Because I think a lot of students, especially working in family farms for so long, they might not see it as productive or as exciting anymore. So I really want to leave that spark of curiosity, of adventure for students to want to go and explore more outside of the classroom, outside of their own communities.
That is our time for questions. Can you please help me congratulating Ms. Robalino? Conclude our morning's presentations. We're going to continue with a closed door session, but our